Hi and welcome to this WordPress video. This is the third video and this should also be the last video. We had the first video where I introduced us to WordPress, talked to us about WordPress, and then the second video where we talked about some aspect of WordPress like themes, plugins, and the different options you can find in the sidebar. Now in this particular video I'm going to show you how to build a full-fledged website. Looking at this third video, you see that there's a difference between this video and the second video that ended. If you notice, you see that this is a different logo compared to the second video. I think there's a change in the font size here. And if you also look at this, you see that we have sample site here, whereas in the second video we had site test. Now this is because while trying to create the tutorial for this video, there were complications with the database for the other site test that I created in the htdocs, so I just had to create another one. So I called it sample site, and then I just tried to do everything the way I did it in the other video so that it's easier for us to follow. So there's not much difference. The only difference is that this is a different logo from the other. Alright, so we're working with 3 pages. We have the home page, which is the current page we are on right now, and then we have the about page, which is the second page we will be working with, and then we have the contact page. So we're gonna work with these 3 pages and see what we can build with them. Let's begin with the home page. So I have the different pages open on my tab here. So if I go to edit home page and just say edit with Elementor. So let's quickly head over to Elementor and see what we can do. And this is the interface where we're going to build the home page. Now there's something that I did not mention in the previous video. If you want to build a website after you've maybe considered the structure of how you want the website should look like, the first thing you need to do is need to create a container, something that will contain the different sections and the different components of your website. For instance, so this is my home page. I can just quickly edit this from this is my home page. Let me change it to let's say welcome to my website. Right, I think I should use this. Welcome to my website, and I want it to be there. So let's say I want to put an image, or let's say I want this welcome to my website to be inside an image, right? So first thing, I'm going to need a couple of images to work with. So let me quickly look for 1 or 2 images to work with, and then we'll be on our way. Alright, great. So I have added a couple of images, so let's see what we can do with it. Now I want to have some sort of background here, and in that background I want to have welcome to my website on top of the background to begin with on my home page. And we can always be checking what we're doing here at the home page here. We can always be checking what we are doing. So to do this, first I'm gonna click on this. Now this is where you can add a container that the different components should contain. So if you click on this, it will bring up some options, as you can see here. Let me drag this. All right, cool. Now you see some options. Now it's telling you to select your structure. How do you want your structure of the website to be like? Do you want this structure with the direction facing down, or this, or do you want divide into two? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Do you want this? So we're going to use some of these structures along the way, but for the purpose of this, what I want to do right now, I need this. So I'll just click on this, and then it gives me this. Now if I want to edit this particular structure that I just picked, all I need to do is click here. You click here. Now this will highlight this particular structure, and then you can come here. Now if you look at this point, you'll see that there are three options here. We have the layout, we have the style, we have the advanced. Now the layout is where you control the width, the height, justify content, want it to be aligned the way you want it to be aligned is where you do that, the gaps and the wrap. Now we're going to use some of these options while building the website, but we might not necessarily use all of them, so some of them you might need to discover on your own as you go. Now the second option is the style. Now in the style, this is where you add colors, this is where you add background images, this is where you add overlay. So we're going to look at what overlay is very soon. And then we have the advanced. Now in the advanced, this is where you can add margin and padding, which I will explain as we go ahead. And still you see have some alignment. You can also have sizes, position. Now you might not really need to worry about all these ones yet, but you don't need to worry about them yet. And then we have motion effect. So if you want to add animation, to your website, this is where you come over to motion effect, and there are a couple of animations here which we're going to see as we proceed, but for now let's just not worry about them. So let's begin by adding the image. So I want to add a background image to this container. So I come to style, and then I come to background type. Do you want classic? So classic is, if you want to add an image, you pick classic. If you want to mix color gradient, you pick gradient. That's what gradient do. If you want to add a video in your background, you pick the video. And if you want some sort of slideshow where we have different pictures changing per time, you pick slideshow. But I want an image, so I'm going to click classic, and then I can now choose my image. So since I have already uploaded a couple of images here, I could just decide to use either of them. So let me pick something nice that is befitting enough for a background. Okay, I think this one is okay. I think I like this, so I'm gonna pick this, select it, and then you add it. So you can see the image has been added to my home page. And if I want this to reflect here, the changes that I made so far, all I need to do is I need to update. So I'm just gonna come here and click update, and then I'm just gonna go here to refresh, and once I refresh, all current changes that was done on the home page should be seen here too. So you can see this, you can see the welcome to my website, and then you could see the image here. And you just need to work on it a little bit so that you could have a better view. So coming back here, let's work on size. So the image resolution full is already full. So what we need to do now, you need to attach some sort of content on it, or we just increase the height. So this is the width and the height. Let's work on the height. Okay, I think this should do. So let's give it that height. Let's see, content is box, and then I'm just gonna update. And I'm gonna refresh. Alright, cool. So you can see that the image is taking shape now. And what you need to notice is that when you're working with WordPress, this is the navigational bar, and this is the footer. This is the one on top is navigational bar, and then we have the footer here below. So let's go back to our home page, and I just want to apply some text. So let's say I have a text here, then I just transfer the welcome to my website here. Cool. And then let's give it a white color. So you come to style, and then just change it to white. Let's keep the font size the way it is. Let's centralize it. Now I want to bring this text down, but then if you look at it, you see that this welcome to my website is not exactly visible because the image we have here is so bright and it has a lot of white. So is there a way we could dim it or make the background image a little bit dark so that so this text could be more visible, right? So I'm just going to click here, which is I want to edit this image now. So to edit it, I need to click on the container. Or another thing that I could do is, now you see this is called the navigator. If you're looking for how you could navigate around your website, what you could do is you could also use here. So if I see I click on this, here this is selected and this is also selected, and I can edit my container here. So let's say I want an overlay. On this image. Now after clicking on the overlay, the next thing I did was I click on gradient. Now if I click on classic, it means I want to add an image, but I don't want to add an image, I want to add an overlay on it. So I'll just click on gradient, and then I'll pick a color, something dark. Let's say this, something dark. I think that's 111. I can just copy this, copy that, and then so in gradient, this is where you're mixing multiple colors together, which in this case you're mixing two colors. So we're just gonna come here and paste the same color gradient here, and see it's a bit darker, right? And you can also decide to choose how to be the location of the color or the length of the color. For instance, let's imagine here was red. Let's imagine it was red, for instance, and the other one is black. So this is where you determine how full you want that particular color to be. So if I say I want it to be 50, you see that it stops somewhere here, and if I want black to be 50, so you see you have that separation. So you see that the red is at the top and the black is at the bottom. So but if I want to mix them together, I could just simply take this one here and then just do something like this. So you see I have a mixture of red and black. So this is how you perform the gradient if you want your website to have some sort of gradient, but I want to use black, so let's just go back to black. And I think this one wouldn't matter because they are both the same color. Alright, and now you can see that the text is now visible. It's very visible now, and very important as you're working on WordPress, as much as possible to be updating every recent change. Try as much as possible to say you don't forget or to close and then you end up closing your tab, or then something happens and all the things you've done so far you lose them. So try as much as possible to update as you work. Now I want to bring welcome to my website somewhere here. I think I need to take this thing down. Alright, you can stay here. I don't really use the navigator much because I know my way around this. So I want to bring it down here. So this I'm just going to click on this text too. So click here, and when you click here, you can now edit. Now you come to advanced. In the advanced, you're going to see two options in the layout. We have the margin, we have the padding. Now if you want to create space, now there's this saying for in web development that every element, every container is inside an imaginary line, right? Now this is the line. Every container, when you're working on WordPress, every container, every heading, every text, every image, every video, anything you're doing they are inside a line. Now this is the line. This is the line. Now the spaces outside the line is what we call margin, and then the spaces inside this is what we call padding. For instance, let's say I want to bring this text down. Now first of all, I'll click on this to unlink this, because if they are linked and if I type something here, so you see it affects everything. It affects everything. If I come here and also type something, see, it affects everything. So if you don't want it to affect everything, just unlink it. Click here to unlink, and then you can type individually on each of these tabs. So let me just do this. All right, 0. So I want to bring it down, so I'll push it from the top. We have top, right, bottom, left. So if I say top 100, for instance, you see it comes down. If I say right, now watch when I say right, and let's say 200, for instance, you see it has been pushed from the right by 200, or 2000 by 200. Now if I say bottom and I say, let's say 200 also, so you see it gives me some sort of space in the bottom. And then if I come here to say left, maybe 100, and you see it's pushed. So that's how you work with the margin and the padding. Same thing applies for the padding. So if you want to move your content or containers around, you can make use of the margin and the padding. So let's just quickly take this back to default 0 0 0 0. All right, so like I was saying, I want to bring this down, so I want to bring from the top. So let's say 100, for instance, maybe 150. All right, cool. And then we have it below, and then I could decide to increase the size. Let's say it's too small. Let's use H1. It's too small. The size. So typography and then size. Yeah, I think this should work, and I think there should be a full stop here. Yep. So welcome to my website, and you see we have this. Welcome to my website, and then I have succeeded in adding this. Now let's say I want to add another section to this web page, so I could just maybe come here and say, okay, I want to have some sort of I'm setting this, so I need 2 here. Let's say I want to add an image here. So let's say, what should I add? Let's say I want to add an image. All right, cool. So let's pick an image. Okay, I think, yeah, this should work. All right, so I want this lady's picture here, and let's say I want to have a little bit of text here that probably describes whatsoever image I have here. I want to put it here, so I could just click here to bring you back to those other options. Then just come here and pick text editor, click and drag, and just drop it there. So lorem ispium, we call this a dummy text. So let's say you're building a website and there is no content given to you for you to work with, right? So you could use lorem. It's called a dummy text. You could just use it as a placeholder to just occupy that position. So I could just copy and paste this, Ctrl C, and then just paste this. So just have something there. All right, cool. And let's edit this text a bit. So start and center, no, not center. Let's align to the left. Let's make it black. All right. I think we should just change the font. Let's use something. Okay, let's just pick something. I think this should work. Nope, that doesn't work. All right, let's just look for something. I think, let's see. Okay, I think Tahoma should work fine. Okay, Let's use that. Now you can also decide to choose the kind of style you want or decoration. If you want it to be underline, you pick underline. You want it to be overline, overline. You want it to be line through, like some sort of strike. There you go. If you want nothing, just put the default or none. And then you can, if you want it to be italicized, it's italicized, and many others, but default. And then we have the transform. If you want everything to be uppercase, use the transform, lowercase, capitalized, normal, but I'm using default. And the font weight is how bold do you want your text to be. So you see that 700 is very bold, 500 semi bold and stuff. And then so we have this. So let's just I think I need some sort of space around this my text, so I'll just click here and then style, not advanced rather, and then my margin. So from the left I need 20, let's see 50. Alright, so you see margin is working outside the box, but what I want to do is I want to apply this inside the box, not outside. So if I delete the 50, the space is out. If I add the 50, the space comes back, but I want this space to be inside at this point. So what I do is that I go for padding, because padding works inside the box. If I say 50, so you see it works inside the box, but 50 is too much. Let's use 20 for left, 20 for right, maybe 20 for the top. I think just add 20 for the bottom. So you see it's a bit more organized. So let's update this and then refresh our site to see what we have so far. Alright, so if you look at this, you see that it's taking shape. So you see we have our hero section here, and then we have the image, and then we have our text. So it's taking shape. So let's imagine that that's all we want to do for the home page. Now let's go to the about page and let's make a few changes to the about page. So this is the about page, and I already have my tab here open for the about page. So we're going to go to design with Elementor, and then we see what we can do. Alright, so for the about page, we're not going to do much per se, but let's just imagine you want to something that describes the website, right? So we could just simply add an image here. So I click here, then I just select, I don't have a video, or I've maybe added a video or something, but let me just add an image. So I'm just gonna pick something. Alright, so let's use this. Oops, having 3 parts here. 1, 2, 3. This image is supposed to be here. Alright, great. So we have this image there, and let's say we want to have an about for this particular about page. So you could just come here and say, okay, let's get a text editor, and you click and drag it. Then we have the normal MSP. We could just copy that and just duplicate it for content sake. So we have that, and let's imagine you want to have a button, right? So you need a button that maybe someone clicks here to go somewhere, right? So you just come here, and then let's pick a button to click, drag, and then you drop the button. Oops. Yep. Alright, so click here. So let's work on that button. Let's work on the button. Okay, come here, click on it, and then you can decide to choose what kind of color do you want. So info, what type of button, warning, and then we have danger, but let's leave it as default. Now what text do you want to have here? So let's say click here to access, maybe click here to know more. Yeah, click here to know more. All right, cool. And now if you have a link, let's say for instance you want to redirect someone to maybe another website or another page, and you have the link, this is where you're going to include the link. So when someone now clicks on that button, it will take them to that page or that website you want them to go to. And this is where you can align. So you want your button to be at the center, at the right, or on the left. Justify, that's justify. If you wanted to fill the whole of that space, that's justify. And then you can also determine the size of the button you want. Do you want extra small, that's small button, or do you want large or medium, depending on what the kind of button you want. But I'm working with medium. And you can also decide to add an icon. Let's say you want to add an icon to your button. So let's see if there's any in the icon library. So we have a few here. Let me see if I can just get something. Click CLICK. Nope. I think I'll just pick one, just for the sake of, yeah, I think that should just add that. So you have something like this. So icon position, so before, after, before is in front, after is behind, and then also decide the spacing that you want for your icon. So that's it. So let's keep it at that. But so it just depends. If I want to have a better, let's use center. Alright, and then I want the button icon to be after. Alright, so you see we have that. But if I want the button to fill the whole of this, the icon might not really be much of a good idea. So I could just remove the icon and make sure that it fills, the button fills that entire place. Alright, so you see we have this, and I think we should just style the button. I don't like this color, so instead of green, let's use I think blue should work. Alright, so alright, that's, and then we have this. Now let's imagine that you want to add let's say a little effect to the button, so that if someone, let's say when I take the mouse and I hover on this button, the color changes, right? I don't know if you've seen stuff like that on websites. When you hover on this, the color changes. You could just quickly come to hover and then decide what you want to be changed when you hover on the button. So let's imagine I want it to be the other way around. So I want the text color, it's white now, but I want it to be blue. So I just come here. Oops, not that. Okay. Okay. Alright, so I want the text to be blue. Then I want the color of the button to be white. Alright, so now watch what happens. So you see this, so you see the text, when you hover on the button, the text changes to the hover. But now let's do something, let me do something better. So let the text still be white, and then let the color of the button still be blue, but a different shade actually. Let's see, and that works, something lighter. Alright, so if I hover on this, it's kind of like it just gets lighter. So that's the hover effect, and I want to put it in a little bit down. So advanced padding, unlink them, and let's say top, let's use 50, 60. Yeah, and that works. 60. and then we have that we have this here, and that's the about page. So let's imagine, and that's all you want to have in the about page. So it depends on what you're trying to build. If you want to have 3 columns, 4 columns, 5 columns, or want to have any kind of structure here, you could just decide to do it like this by picking on any of these things you like or want, depending on what you're trying to do. So that's it for the about page, and let me just quickly update and then check out what I have so far. So let's refresh the about page. And we have this is what we have so far. All right, cool. Now let's go to the contact page. Let's see what we can do here. Let's imagine we want to have some sort of form, and hopefully let's also hope that this can be done with free WordPress. Since I'm going to show us once I load up the Elementor interface in the contact page. All right, so now if you look at the Elementor widget here, you will see that we have basic and then we have pro. Now what this means is that unless you subscribe or you upgrade your Elementor plan to the pro version, you cannot have access to any of these options. You can't have access to it. The only thing you have access to is the heading, the image, the text editor, video, button, divider. The divider is used to separate different components or different structures. The spacer is used to create space in between structures and containers. And then you can also include Google Map, and then you have some icons here. That's the only thing you can have for the free version. But if you upgrade to the pro, you will have access to this and all this. You have access to all this, and I'm sure you can imagine what you can do with this. But then you still have some general things that you could also use. So like any of these things here, you can add it to the basic. So let's say for instance in the contact page, I want to have, let's start with the map. So let's say I want to have a Google map. First let's add a container. Let's do this. I need 2 sites, and then here I need a Google map just to put my exact location. So this is a Google map. In the Google map you can also decide to have so where am I currently. So let's see if I can get something. So let's say Rivers State. Okay, let's say Rivers. Alright, so let's see if we're gonna get it. Okay, cool. Port Harcourt River. So let's use that, and I think the zoom level, let's see. Okay, I think that's too much. Let's keep it at 10. All right, and then the height of the map. Okay, I think that's perfect. And then let's imagine, I don't think I need to install anything here, so I think that works. Let's see what other general component can I maybe use that is free. That is, let's see, image box. Okay, let's see, rating, testimonial. Okay, so I was looking for a form, but the form is not free. So for the pro, I want to have some sort of form here, so that if someone wants to like contact, so you have put in your name, put in your email, your phone number, and then a place for a message. Now there is a cracked Elementor Pro plugin that can be uploaded to your WordPress site, and it will give you access to all these pro features without you having to subscribe. And my plugin has been installed successfully, and all I need to do is activate the plugin. Alright, and you can see that our Elementor Pro has been activated. Now let's test it. So if I come to my home page, and as you can see, the Pro is not accessible. So let me refresh and see if I will have access to this. So if I refresh, and yes, I now have access to all the pro features. As you can see, I have access to all the pro features on WordPress. So that means if I, for instance, want to, let's say I want to include a form. Let's go to the contact page, and let me refresh the about, and let me refresh the contact. So while that is happening, let's go to the home page, and let's say I want to add a carousel of images, or let's say a gallery, right? So let me create a section. I create a section here, and then I want to add a gallery of pictures. So I'm going to click here, just come over here, and so I'm gonna let's add images. So I'm just gonna add a couple of images. Alright, so these are the images I just uploaded, and let's update that and then refresh our website. And you can see our gallery of images. You can see our gallery of images. Now, depending on what you're trying to do, you could play around with the functions here. So if you want lazy load means when the website loads, should the image appear as should it appear very slow? That's what lazy load means. You can also decide, do you want grid, do you want justified, or do you want masonry? So it depends on, these are just different layout views, but I'll keep it as grid. So depending on what you want. So how many columns do you want, the spacing, you work with it here. Do you want to apply link to the pictures? This is where you do it. And then the image resolution, how do you want it? Thumbnail, large, medium, full. depending on what you're trying to do. And then we'll have an overlay. So if you want to have an overlay on the picture, you just come here and then you pick the kind of overlay that you want. Now that's for this. So you see that we have access to all the WordPress Pro features. We have access to everything here. And then you can do what if you want to create a form. Now let's go to the contact page and let's add a form in the contact. So if I go to the contact page, so I want to add a form on the contact page. Alright, let's add a form close to the map here, the map area there. And if I come down here and I say form, so I want to add a form that has name, email, and message. So let's work with this. Let's work with this. And input size, I think extra small should work. Label, let's keep the label. Require mark, yeah, let the require mark show. And then the buttons, the button size, I think this is okay. But I don't like the color of the button, so I'm just change the color of the button, and then I could just, I think this should work. Alright, I think that works. And then I want to create a space. I need a space around this, so I'll just click on this particular section, or you could also use the navigator. That's where the navigator comes in. So I could just come here. So this container is the overall container for this. This container is the overall for both the map and this form here. Now if I want to select a particular one, this one here is for the map and this one here is for the form. So I want to push this in down and this form area down. I'll just come here, click here, or I could come here and click here, then go to advanced, and then where margin. First of all, unlink this, and then I want to move it from the top. Let's say 50. I think 50 is okay. How about the left? 20. Okay, I need padding for that. I need padding for that. So I'm just gonna come unlink this and left 20. Yeah, I want to push inside the box. Right 22. I think that works. But I need space in between each of these form areas. I need space in between them, so we just click here or click on the form itself by clicking here, or I could come here and click on form and column gaps. So let's see, I think that should be row gaps. Yep, and then we have that. I need to reduce the top, so let's reduce it from 50 to 20. Yeah, that works. And let's save this update and let's refresh. Let's go to the contact page. So I'm just gonna come down here, contact page. Let's see how the form looks on the contact page. And then we have this. So if someone fills the form, right, how can you now access the data? If someone fills the form and clicks on send, how can you now access? And this does not apply to just this form. What if you have any form on your website and then someone fills in details and then clicks on submit? How do you have access to the data? So we're going to go back to our dashboard, and when you go to Elementor, you will see submissions. And if I click on submissions, you're going to see a table, or not necessarily a table, but you're going to see this is where you can access the forms, the data of the forms. So depending on how many forms you have, if you have like 20 forms, you will see the list of all the forms here, and then you can access it, right? And then all the submission data will be found here. All the submission data will be found here. That's how to access the data when a form is filled. Now, what if you want to edit What if you want to edit the, let's say you want to edit the navigational bar, and then you want to edit the footer? How do you now go ahead to edit the navigational bar and the footer? Now let's go back here and let's go to, I'm just gonna look for appearance, and then we'll go to customize. In the customize session, this is where you get, this is one way where you could edit the navigational bar and the footer, or the header as you call it, and the footer. And then we have the header and the footer, and you can see an edit button here. So this is where you click to edit the header. So I'm just going to click on this. Now you can decide to remove the logo or change the logo here. You can decide to give your site a title if you want a tagline, but not necessarily. Now, what if you want to give your site an icon? So what's an icon? An icon is this. Now you see this part, this icon here on this page, that is what we call the site icon. So if you want, if you have maybe a logo or an icon you want your website to carry, this is where you come to change it. So if you click here, it will take you to a point where you can now upload a file. It takes you there. And that's one way to edit the navigational bar. That's one way. But what if you wanted to use the Elementor to edit the navigational bar? Let's see how we can use Elementor to edit the navigational bar. So just gonna click on this, and then we have site settings. Hello header. Alright, so let's look at this. Logo width. This is where you decide the size of your logo, how big you want your logo to be. So I'm just gonna keep, I think I'll keep mine, I think that should work. And then the type of logo, do you want a title which is like a text, or do you want an actual logo which is a picture? So I'm just gonna leave it as logo and leave it as this size. Let's see if I need to change. Alright, so select a menu. Now if you remember when I showed you menu, now if you have multiple menus, you can also select it here. This is where you can select what menu do you want to have on your navigational bar or your header. That's where you can select the menu if you have multiple menu. And you can change the color, so let's change it to black. Yeah, I think black works. And toggle color, let the toggle color be black too. I think let's leave the typography the way it is. Okay, drop down. So that's for this, if you want something like this. But I'm just going to leave it for the desktop view. Let's keep it as horizontal. So that's it for menu. Done with site header. Okay. Alright, so the content weight is what you use to decide how you want the logo and the menu to be spaced. I think this is okay. No, let's move it a bit. Yeah, I think that's okay. And we are done with that. Let's give it a color. Let's give the header a color. Let's see. I think I was working with blue, so let's work with that. So I'll just copy this color code and just add it there. Yep. This does not work because of my logo is not visible. I think we should just work with white. Let's leave it as white. Let's leave it as white. Maybe a little bit like this. Okay. think I'll leave it like that. And let's see what, so the angle of the shade. Okay, I think yeah, that works. Okay, okay, I think I'm done here. So that's for the header. So what about the footer? What about the footer? So site identity, nope, not site identity, hello team footer. So for the footer, let's go to the footer. I could decide, let's start, okay, let's start with the footer. Then let's just do this. Okay, and that works. And background type, so I think I should just use the same thing as the header. So a bit of this here, a bit of this there, and then this one was purely white. Yep. And which other, let's see, so here, let's go to the site logo, and let's reduce the size of the logo and too small. All right, I think that works. I think we're done here. Now if you want your footer to have a menu, you can just come here, and if I add this sample site, copyright, you can edit the copyright here. This is where you can edit the copyright. All rights reserved, we have all rights reserved. If you have some other thing you want to add, you can do that here. You can change the color and then typography. So that's how to edit the footer of the website. And you can see we have a simple website here. Now, and don't forget to update. And let's refresh our home page. Let's see what we have. Okay, let me refresh this. Okay. All right, and that is out. And you can see that this logo is too small, so you could just go back to increase it. If you find that your logo is too small, you can go back to increase it, and so you can have what you want. And you see you have this. Now look at the menu I added the menu to our footer, and if I don't want it, I could just simply go to hello team footer, go to the menu, and then keep it as select menu, update, and if I refresh this after it's done with the update, if I refresh this, you should see that you shouldn't see this anymore. So it just depends. If the website you're creating needs you to have a footer, then you can go ahead to create a footer. But if it doesn't need a footer, then there's no need. So and it's gone. So there's no menu in the footer. Let me refresh this to get rid of this error. With this, we have our simple web page. Now just one thing is left. You have this is the home page, and then this is the about. So this is the about, and then we have the contact page. this is the contact page. Now what is left now is, what if you want to create a website? How do you know how this website looks on mobile devices? Because when you're creating a website, the website needs to look what we call responsive, and has to be represented well across all devices. Now let's go to the edit homepage. Now let's go back. Now if you look at the bottom left corner, you will see what we call the responsive mode over here. The responsive mode. Now this is where you get to observe how your website would look on a mobile device, on a tablet, and on your desktop, which is what we have currently. So if I click on this, it gives us this option. So this is the mobile portrait view, this is the tablet portrait view, and this is the desktop view. So let's see how this page looks like on a mobile. So if I click on this, so you have this. So you see that this is how my website will look like on a mobile, and you see this is not nice. This is definitely not nice. This is okay, this is nice, but this particular point is not nice, right? This is okay, you see, see, this is okay, but this is not okay. So what do I do here? I need to edit this for mobile device. So I'm going to click on this, edit heading, and I'm going to go to style. And if you look at this, you see that this has changed to mobile portraits. Alright, so I could just quickly edit it to this, and then it's coming down too much, so I could just come here. You see this is also for mobile. I could just come here, instead of 150 I unlink this, and let's try 70 or maybe 80 on 100. I think 100 is cool, so I think this works. And anything I'm editing right now, it only affects the mobile. If I update this, it is updated for the mobile, and if I go back to the desktop view, you will see what it was like. It is still the way it was for the desktop view. All the changes I'm doing right now only affect the mobile view. And so if I go back to desktop, see what we have. If I come to mobile, this is what we have. See, all my changes is working fine. And if I go to tablet, this is what I have for tablet. So I now have to edit. So that means when you're building a website with WordPress, you need to also edit for mobile and make it look okay for mobile. Make all the necessary changes that will make your website look okay for mobile, and then come to tablet and also make changes to it. So I'm just going to come here, go to style, and then go to typography, and then just reduce it a bit to look nice for. Okay, I think that works. And then I could just come to advanced and also reduce this, and just let's say 110. Yeah, I think 110 works too. And see, this is okay, and this is how it looks like on tablet. For this image, I think I need to lower it a bit so that it just looks okay. So I could just come to advanced, and then come to padding, and let's give it a padding top of, let's say 100. So I think this works. Yeah, and then these images are okay, so everything is working fine. And then I'll just update, and then so when this website is looked at on the tablet, it will look like this. It will look like this. Alright, so let's go back to the desktop view, and our desktop view is the way it is. And if you want to edit, you could just, if you want to switch between any of the views, you can also click here and switch for any of the views as you're editing. Now one last thing that I would love to do will be, let's add motion effects to this web page. Let's add motion effect. So let's imagine that I click here, that is, I want the whole of this, and I come to advanced, and I come to motion effects, and I want it to animate. So I could say, let's pick slide in from the right. Sliding from the right, yeah, so that I want it to slide in from the right, and the duration should be slow. Yep. Delay, I don't want any delay. If you want to have a delay, you put something here, and in milliseconds. So if you put 1, it means 1 milliseconds. If you put 100, or if you put 1000, I am guessing 1000 should be 1 minute if I'm not mistaken, or it should might take 100. And so sliding from the right, slow. So let's update this. And for this one, I want this one to slide in from the left, and I want this to slide in from the right. So I'm just gonna click on this. Once it, okay, it's still updating. So I'm just gonna click here to get this, and I come to advanced, and I come to motion effects, and then I say slide in from, where is it? Slide in from the left, and I want it to be slow too. And then for this, I want this, I pick the section. You can also come here to pick it, the container here in the navigator, and I want it to slide in motion effects. So I click on slide in from the right, and I also want it to be slow. I don't want any delay. So let's update that, and then let's check out the home page and see how our effects are working. So I come over here, click on home page, and let's see what happens. And you see, and it slides in, and then this one slides in. Can you see that? So you see it's working. Now let's check for mobile. Do you also have the same thing for mobile? So let's see, because I don't think it will be appropriate to have this for mobile. So I could just come here and click mobile portrait, and I say none. I don't want my animation to work on mobile. I only want it to work on desktop. I don't want it to work on tablet. So I come to tablet, and I pick none. So not all, if you're designing with WordPress and you want a particular feature to only exist in desktop, but you don't want it to exist in mobile or on tablet, this is where you come to change it. This is where you come to change it. So you just click. So whether it's on layout, you can always change it here. You can always change it here. So any effect you apply here for the particular portrait view is what will appear on your website. So let's update this, and we are done with our simple website. It's our simple website. I'm sure you've learned something, and since you have installed the Elementor Pro on your WordPress site, in this video I might not be able to go through all the tools here, but I'm sure with constant practice, with when you experiment with some of them, you get to know what they do and how to use them best. Yep, so that sums up this WordPress video and how you could build a WordPress locally. And remember, like I said in the first video, this is a WordPress website built locally, but if you are hosting it on a live server or a hosting provider, it works the same way. The building and everything works the same. The only difference is the way WordPress will be installed. Once you've gotten the domain name, once you've gotten a hosting provider, the next thing for you to do will be to install WordPress. Now after you've installed WordPress, and then you've installed the Hello Elementor plugin and then the Elementor theme, the next thing for you to do will be to edit each pages with Elementor, and then just keep working on your website, and before you know it, you have a standard full-fledged website for yourself.